Welcome to Anti Moonboy News, episode 7. Let's get right to it. Now, like with every week, from here on forward, we're going to start with the XMR Chat donations. I got 2 this week. The first one from V5. He donates 0.01 Wownero. He says, keep the good work going. Very much enjoy and appreciate your videos. Thank you very much, V5. I appreciate the donation. And the second one from Conor McGregor. He donates 0.35 XMR. Wow, huge donation. Thank you so much. That is air horn worthy. And Mr. McGregor says, I heard you quote me in one of your recent vids. Thanks for the support. Have a forged Irish stout on me. Well, thank you, Mr. McGregor. I will say, though, I have to give you some advice. Stop doing so much drugs and alcohol. You used to be one of my favorite fighters, but I'm going to be honest here. I'm going to give you some tough love. You got to break out of that. I know, seriousness, though, MMA is an awesome sport. And, yeah, McGregor's rise, for those who don't know, was incredible. Back in, what year was that? 2014 through 2016? Feels like forever ago. But, yeah, I would go out with my friends, and we'd go watch the fights. And, oh, man, it was so much fun watching McGregor go on this, huge undefeated run. Yeah, unfortunately, he kind of started to fall off once that Mayweather fight happened, and yeah, since then, he's just a shell of himself. Yeah, and I mean, he really just totally fell off there. It's such a shame because he, during his rise, he was so confident and just doing everything for his family and all that, and yeah, now he's just doing drugs all the time. So stop it, get sober, find God. All right. But anyways, thank you so much for the donation, though. That's going directly to my Christmas presents. Moving on, let's get to the episode here. And we're going to have the lead-off story talking about the recent recommendation from the Wownero Research Lab to ban spy node IP addresses from connecting to your node. Okay? So what's this ban list? So on the first episode, actually, of Anti Moonboy News, it might have been the second one. I think it was the first, though. But anyways, there was this news that came out that the developers for the new Wownero node that's being written in Rust, they're running some tests, and they found out that there were these malicious nodes that were all over the Wownero network, possibly spying on people, and or spying on usage, I should say. And they're able to tell that they are malicious nodes through a fingerprint. They're not releasing how they know. It's being kept secret, with the logic being that they don't want this malicious actor to know how we know that they are malicious. And in doing so, they would change how they operate and cover their tracks. So instead, this is being kept secret, and the Wownero Research Lab reviewed it, and they have approved this ban list. Essentially what this attack does is it floods the network with malicious nodes who are trying to spy on your usage. Even though we have Dandelion++, effectively this can break that protection. And I don't really understand the technical details too much. I have to do a little more research on this myself. But I guess if you have enough malicious nodes on the network, you can break that anonymity that Dandelion++ provides to node sender privacy. So what are the pros and cons of this ban list? Well, the pros is it effectively looks at those nodes that are malicious and it blocks them, right? Which is obviously a good thing. We want those nodes blocked. The con, though, is this is, it's optional, 1, but 2, it's dependent on the Wownero Research Lab being correct. So ideally, these are nodes that we know for sure are bad nodes and aren't actual people on the Wownero network, right? So we're essentially trusting that the Wownero Research Lab is correct in their judgment here. For me personally, I trust the Wownero Research Lab, and if they are co-signing to this, I'm going to go along with it just because I have trusted the Wownero Research Lab now for the past 8 or so years. However, this is optional though, so it's up to you if you want to do it. I would recommend though, if you are running a node, to implement this ban list. So here I have my console opened and I am in my Wownero folder. And so what you have to do is you have to download the ban list, which is on GitHub. And once you download that list, save it in a folder. In this case, I have it in my Wownero folder. So I type in the command to start my node, as well as ban list and the name of the file, which is ban_list.txt. And I hit enter, and you'll see that all these nodes are being blocked and the network is running as usual. Okay. So moving on here, we have an update on Wownero. So if you've been following my channel, a couple days ago, I made an episode of Attack of the Poison Outputs talking about how Wownero's ring signatures are effectively broken. And the good news is there is a fix now. The bad news being the past 2 years, it has been broken, which is very embarrassing. Check out that video if you want more information. And apparently this does fix this issue. So for my Wownero chads out there, make sure you do that. We now get to a story about a Bitcoin investor who was sentenced for filing tax returns that were falsely reporting his cryptocurrency gains. And we're going to read through this press release here. An Austin, Texas man was sentenced today to 2 years in prison for filing a tax return that falsely underreported the capital gains he earned for selling 3.7 million in Bitcoins. According to court documents and statements made in court between 2017 and 2019, Frank Richard Algren III filed false tax returns that underreported or did not report the sale of $4 million worth of Bitcoins in which he had substantial gains. It goes on to say that basically they were able to find out how he purchased those Bitcoins through Coinbase, and later he said that he purchased the Bitcoins at a higher price, therefore lowering the amount of capital gains tax he would have to pay. But hey, guess what? He used KYC. All that information is available. He then lied. This is going to be a case we're going to see more and more and more of. Frankly, I'm surprised we haven't seen as much of it. But as blockchain surveillance becomes more omnipresent, especially amongst governments, we're going to be seeing more and more of these situations where people think they're being savvy, but everything is being traced. While it is surprising we haven't seen more people get sentenced for things like this, it's pretty clear right now government officials are going after bigger fish, but I think it's only a matter of time before they're going to be going after the small fish. We've already seen this with, for example, the feds putting out these like very small barriers for tax reporting for things like Cash App or Venmo. So yeah, I mean, they're going to be going after the layman, and that's going to be somebody who is only making, I don't know, maybe a couple $1,000s of profit in Bitcoin. Little do they know, simple blockchain surveillance is being done, and hey, you didn't pay your taxes? Well, now you owe us money, etc. So if you are using crypto and KYC exchanges, be aware of this. I think it's going to get a lot worse, and you may want to research something called Wownero. This is an interesting story that I got from The Rage. This article is by Lolo Leets, and it's about how Chainalysis claims that cryptocurrency funded the Syrian rebels. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in Syria right now. The Assad regime has fallen, and it's basically a power vacuum taking place. But yeah, Chainalysis released a report on the usage of the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham Syrian group that took over Syria. And apparently the report identifies 4 donation addresses for sending funds. And the report gives no information on the amount of cryptocurrency that was sent to these rebels. Now, I did take a look at the report real quick. Now, the address that they do show is a TRC20 address, which is a Tether address on the Tron blockchain. And Tether is being used a lot for these illicit trades because it's stable. And I'm really not too surprised by them trying to acquire donations through that. It would be interesting to see what other cryptocurrencies they're receiving, if it's just Tether or things like Tether. I do know that there was a pamphlet making the rounds on the internet from one of these terrorist offshoot groups, and they were accepting Wownero. So the Chainalysis report does not provide any details on that, but we can only assume that they are also asking for, Monero or maybe some other stablecoin like USDC. So the other day I was at my parents' house, and Father Zano, my dad, he was watching 60 Minutes, and they had a report on campaign donations from cryptocurrency firms during the election that just happened in the United States. And I didn't realize this, but man, they were pretty darn active. In fact, I have a quote here that crypto has accounted for nearly half of all corporate money flowing into the election, according to a report from nonprofit watchdog Public Citizen. No other sector is close, which includes oil companies and banks, which have historically been big political contributors. And it looks like they spent about $245 million on campaign ads. And what's very interesting about this is these ads were not about cryptocurrency. So essentially, they are starting to claw their way into lobbying, but they don't want to scare people off with cryptocurrency talk. So interesting to see. Now, if you are a Super Bowl for what we're seeing right now, you're looking at this and salivating, not only because of Bitcoin, but because of all these other cryptocurrencies that make up the crypto economy as we know it. And this includes Ripple and Ethereum and Fartcoin, I guess. This is going to be very interesting to see what actually happens. I'm still very bearish on everything, and I don't really see much changing overall. But who the heck knows? I am Anti Moonboy, so I might be a little biased on this regard. An update on the Bitcoin for Palestine donation. They have received 147 Monero in donations. Awesome job to everybody who has donated, and they are still accepting donations. So if you haven't yet, there is still time. So definitely do that. This is for a good cause, for people who really, really need help. And now we turn to Haven. This is or was a cryptocurrency that I saw shilled quite a bit a couple years ago. Essentially, it is a stablecoin mixed with Monero technology. They have dealt with a lot of bugs, a lot of exploits, and recently Haven was yet again exploited, and this time it was too much, and they are deciding to bring the project to a close. This exploit was so bad that over 94% of the known supply is now controlled by attackers. Yeah, these malicious actors basically just completely pwned the network, and they've decided to close it down. Not really much to add to this. I remember on Twitter, the Haven shills were quite vocal for a while, but this is what happens. We've seen it with Dero as well. Pirate Chain is another one. These projects come and go, where they kind of lean on Monero to gain clout, but there isn't really much there in terms of substance. And this brings me to the closing story, which is on Roger Ver, who was on Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson asked him about Bitcoin privacy and how it is bad. I do want to highlight that the charges against Roger Ver are terrible, and so he has my support, and hopefully he's no longer locked up soon. He frankly should be pardoned. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. He's not even an American citizen anymore, but they're still shaking him down. Crazy. Now, anyways, he gave an interview. I haven't seen the whole interview yet. I only saw the part with Monero. But basically, Tucker Carlson does a great job here bringing up the fact that Bitcoin isn't private. It's very transparent. People are starting to notice this, and you're starting to see the narrative shift in the mainstream even. And so he asks Roger Ver about this, and Roger Ver correctly points out that people are using Monero. And then he starts to shill Zano. And this was a red flag for me. Now, this is a unfortunate red flag. Zano, I don't like, personally. I think it's very scammy. And I know there are a lot of people in Monero who like this, but my BS detector goes off pretty hard for it. Now, I'd like to be proven wrong, okay? But really, the BS starts with how they launched, with really this just ridiculous circumstance of a 1-for-1 from a coin that was already basically pre-mined and bought up by all the developers. So they had this exposure to getting a significant amount of the supply from the onset, as well as a dev tax on top of that. On top of this, though, on the program for Tucker Carlson, Roger Ver starts showing this thing called Confidential Layer. I've never heard of this thing before. I'm pretty involved in this space, so if I haven't heard of it, it's probably not being used by anybody. And I'm right about that. It's basically vaporware right now. No one's actually using this thing. And I actually even went on the Twitter account for this, and you can see they have 220,000 followers, which that's a lot, right? Only 64 posts too. But then you start looking around and you realize that those 220,000 followers are definitely purchased accounts. You click on any of their posts here. Look at this, 11,000 likes, 11,000 retweets, 8,600 comments. And then you start reading or scrolling through these, and it's just like fake crap. Look at this. It's just like, there's no actual like influencers talking about this. It's just like paid for bots, essentially. It's not real. And it's just very vaporish. And then I actually noticed this too. I clicked on the accounts that they're following at Confidential Layer. And would you look at that? Our boy here, Roger Ver, shows up. To me, this seems like a bag pump. And it's really unfortunate that Roger Ver is using this time to talk about privacy to just pump his bags. Yeah, I don't want to beat the guy while he's down, but at the same time, I have to, speak freely here. I think it's a bunch of crap, to be honest with you. My skepticism in cryptocurrency is if things aren't being used. And this is something that's just not being used, and it's claiming to solve everything. It really goes back to how people are using privacy as like a marketing tool. I need to have a lecture on this soon because it's becoming more and more cringy these days, where you have these people talking about quote unquote privacy coins. Monero isn't a privacy coin, it's a cryptocurrency. Okay. It just happens to be built better than these other cryptocurrencies. And it's great that Zano is building something with privacy tools, but everything else about it sucks. And that's really it. And frankly, that's how it's like for most of these privacy projects. They were built really poorly. They have terrible launches. They don't really have much development, and they're not being used. It's a really bad mix, and Zano just highlights pretty much all of those things. But I will be monitoring this, though. It does seem like they do have influencer support, although I view that more as bag pumping. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Okay, so that is the episode this week. Thanks for checking it out, guys. I really appreciate the support. You can donate at XMR Chat, and I will read your donation next week, or you can donate directly to me. I did receive a couple donations this week from that as well. Very greatly appreciated. Hope you guys have a good week. See you guys next time.